Few more weeks when we won't be able to meet as a church. Mike and I were talking about doing kind of a series on these videos regarding the design for marriage that God has, what He made it for, what He desires, and His participation in it with us. So we're excited to talk about that, and we're excited to share more a little bit about our story with you. When Mike and I first met, we were pretty young, and we didn't date for very long. We were met and married in 11 months, and so it was pretty fast. And we both grew up Christians. We both grew up in the church, and we both had God as an important part of our life. But I certainly didn't go into marriage looking for more for what I was supposed to be giving to the marriage. It was really natural, as I think it is for a lot of us, to go into marriage with how it makes me feel and what I wanted and what I envisioned for marriage. We go into it, I think, often with an idea of what makes me happy, what's going to make me happy. He makes me happy. I love how I feel when I'm with him. I love our relationship. And so therefore, that's how I went into marriage. And I think that's natural. I think a lot of us go into it like that. I think that's the kind of the framework that we look at our relationship with, especially when we're young and have some immaturity about us. But we're missing so much about what God created marriage for. It's not that God doesn't want us to be happy. He does. He wants us to thoroughly enjoy our marriage. But He has a much, much bigger plan, a much greater plan for marriage. He designed it to be a representation of who He is. He designed it so that it would reflect His character and His love for us, His church. Marriage is obviously the most intimate, it's a powerful relationship. It's where we want to be known. It's where we're known. It's where we get to know somebody else, where we share a life with each other. And there is no deeper relationship. There is no more intimate relationship that we can experience here on this earth, except within our marriage. And that's how God designed it. He created it like that. He wants to show so much of who He is through marriage. And not only for our sake as participants in the marriage, but He wants marriage to be a reflection in this world of His love and His character. One of the things that He wants us to stand so boldly in is the idea of covenant. And covenant, I think, can seem like an old time kind of word, like an Old Testament word that was used. And it's true that covenant was used a lot in the Old Testament. But covenant is a promise. Covenant is no matter what you do, I'm going to stick with my promise. And that's the opposite of a contract. A contract is you have your part, I have my part. And as long as we're both doing our parts, then I'm willing to continue to do what I agreed to do. And going into marriage based on happiness, you make me happy, therefore I want to share this life with you. And we don't ever say it, and we don't even really know it maybe, but I think we often go into it with, as long as I'm happy, then I'm good in this relationship. I'm committed, and I will continue to pour into us. But how long does happiness last? It's really fleeting. So if our marriage is based on a contract, and I'm not happy, and you're not living up to your end of the bargain, then I'm unhappy, and maybe I want out. And if we're operating on that system, then our marriages are struggling. They're going to struggle, and it's going to be hard, and maybe we will find ourselves in a position where we're wanting to seek a divorce. But if we're operating under a system that God has given us with a covenant, with a promise, then we have that to stand on. If I promise to Mike that I am going to pour into our relationship and I will love him the best that I can, I will love him with the best love that I have, my best understanding of how Christ loves us, I will work to love him in that way. then it doesn't matter what he does or doesn't do. I can always love him. I can always be pouring into relationship with him. And that's really freeing. It's easy in our broken humanity to look at that as like a kind of a prison sentence sometimes, to be like, gosh, covenant, like no matter what he does, I'm tied to this covenant. But if we look at it from the framework of it's freedom to say, I can always love you. It's not dependent on what you do or don't do. It's dependent on my commitment. And I will stick by you. I will stick in this marriage no matter what. And that's God. That's his relationship with us. That's his love for us, is he has made a covenant with us that he loves us and he will always love us. And he's not going to walk away from us. He is there. He is committed. And that's freeing too, to know that there isn't anything that I can do or anything that I don't do that's going to make him love me less or love me more, push him away, break relationship with him. Like once we are in Christ, once we have accepted his gift of salvation, we are his and he is there. That is his covenant. That is his promise with us.
You know, Jacqui mentioned that we met and got married pretty quickly, and honestly, I had this idea that it was going to be really easy, and then it wasn't in our first couple years. For those of you who are listening that know our story, you've heard this before, but our first couple years were really rough. We ended up moving in with some friends. We moved into their basement, and they did marriage boot camp with us. We were very blessed that they were willing to get into the messy parts and do the nitty-gritty work. And the idea that Jacqui's talking about of covenant versus contract was really reinforced. I would go to my buddy and I'd be like, I need to tell you what Jacqui did. And he'd say, I don't care. What did you do? And I'd say, no. You need to understand what she did so that you can understand why I did what I did. And he'd say, I don't care. What'd you do? And I'd get so frustrated because I wanted him to understand this is why I did what I did. But his response was always, I don't care what she did. You can't control her. What did you do? And in that first couple of years, Jacqui hit a point where she came and said, I've decided I'm going to love you. And again, we were almost 2 years into it, and I was a little perplexed. I thought we decided that back when we got married, but she made the shift from this idea that she would love me as long as I did what she expected me to do, to she was going to love me regardless of what I did or how I acted or who I was. And that shift changed everything in our marriage. And I'm so blessed that she was able to step into that first, but it allowed me to also stop trying to wait for her to do something for me in order to fulfill what I knew I needed to be doing. So because of that, I was able to start stepping into who I was supposed to be as a husband, who I was supposed to be as a father, and do the things that I needed to do. But a lot of that is based on this idea that we've committed to this not because of what the other will do, but because this is what we've committed to. And even in a lot of marriages these days where people write their own vows, they're more about what they love about the person, not so much the commitments, the rich or the poor, sickness, health. Those are the things where it's like what it comes down to, and why those were the original vows is because it's gonna get hard. And what does it look like to stand with each other when it gets hard? And so the idea of marriage being this reflection of our relationship with God is huge. And that's what we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks. The idea that regardless of what we do, God maintains his position, and there are reflections of that in marriage. So we're going to continue to explore those and look at what that looks like over the next few weeks, and hopefully provide some insight for you guys and share with you the stuff that we've learned through the years and continue to learn on a regular basis.
So we have the idea of contract versus covenant that we've talked about, and we've talked about this happiness piece of it. What if it wasn't based on being happy? What if it was based on being holy? And I think that's a churchy word that a lot of people don't know what that means. I didn't know what holy meant for a long time. It gets used in a real derogatory way, like, oh, you're holier than thou. But holy means set apart. Holy means that God has taken us and he has set us apart. He has identified us from the whole of broken humanity, and he has set us apart into a different framework, a different identity.
With a new purpose.
With a new purpose. And so if we looked at our marriage from that framework, that our marriage is designed to be set apart from the world and the brokenness and how the world identifies marriage and value and worth. If we recognize that God has set our marriage apart for his glory, and that our marriage is designed, he has designed marriage to bring him glory. Our marriage is designed to reflect his nature, his character to each other and to the whole world. And if I am able to take captive my desire just to be happy, which is so fleeting and so surface, and really like how valuable is that really, to be happy for a moment? But my gosh, if I can get past that, and as I stand in this idea of my marriage being set apart with a purpose to represent God's glory, that changes everything. And that's what we're going to be digging into in the next several weeks. We're going to kind of dissect that and talk about different components of that, what it means for our marriage to be holy, and what it looks like for us to stand in that, and some of the challenges that we face in the midst of that. So we encourage you to join us for the next several weeks, who knows how many, and we're going to just walk through this. And again, if you ever want somebody to come alongside of you in your marriage, we greatly encourage everyone to have people in their life that they can share their marriage with. All of the nitty-gritty, broken, hard, ugly places of marriage, we have had that in our life, and we value it greatly, and we would love to be available to do that with you, to come alongside of you and help walk through whatever your marriage is going through. We believe that God is so faithful in marriage, and we've seen it in our marriage and in other marriages, that he is willing to heal and reconcile anything that we are willing to let him do. And so if you ever want to contact us about anything, we would love to do that with you.
The email that we've got is couplessupport@westwoodcc.org. So feel free to reach out that way. If you've got our phone numbers, feel free to text or call us, and we'd be happy to talk with you. But we hope you have a great week.
Yeah.
We hope that you're adjusting to everything, and as we start to gear up for the new normal, that you're prepared for that. And again, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Take care.